I'm Indy Nidell. Welcome to the Great War on the Road. Now, we are in France to shoot on a bunch of original World War I locations, but right now I'm in Romagne at Romagne 1418, 1418, which is a really interesting museum, which you're just going to see in a little bit, which is dedicated to the First World War and particularly all the artifacts and material from the First World War. And this gentleman right next to me, Jean-Paul de Vries, is the mastermind behind the museum. Now, first, the crew and I, have to really thank you for letting us come here and taking us around.
You're welcome, no problem.
No, it's really cool. Well, they're going to see. But I have 3 questions for you first, right? Okay. When, why, and how did you start this museum?
The museum has now been officially for 20 more years, I think. But I started off when I was 7 years old.
Okay.
Somebody gave me a bayonet and he said to me, go to the woods, Jean-Paul, you'll fall over the war stuff. And everything was still laying around.
Really?
Yeah.
So you just, like when you were a kid, just every day go out and just pick up?
Went to the woods during holidays with my dad, went to the woods and just picked it up. Helmets, little rifles, everybody left it behind.
Guns, shell casings?
Shell casing, everything was still there.
Wow.
Live ammunition, a lot of live ammunition.
Well, wow. And you never had any accidents or anything?
I never had any accidents. I had, when I was younger, I had EOD coming to my school to evacuate the whole school and take away my whole collection because 7 of the exposed shell casings were still alive.
Really?
But that's the only accident I had. Well, no accident in between gimmicks, but...
And how did you get it all together? How did you...
This is more than 40 years of searching. Each holiday I went to France, going to the fields, to the woods, searching. And when I was, I think, 18 years old, with a bunch of friends, we went each weekend from Holland to France just to search.
Okay. And where in Holland are you from?
I'm from the south of Holland, Eindhoven.
Okay. And of course you live here now.
I'm now living here for 20 years, so the first 10 years I lived here, I could go out to the fields 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it became this collection.
Well, we're going to get to see a bunch of that stuff out in the fields, and so are you guys, but first you're going to get to see some of this collection. Now, before you show us some stuff, I noticed something that I think is a good place to start with. That really cool helmet right over there, that's just crazy. Okay,
this helmet is one of the parts which is not coming out of the region itself. It's brought to me by a Dutch soldier who fought in Afghanistan. And it's pinned by a Afghanistan clan king to show off I'm the chief. And what I love about this helmet is the helmet is Austrian First World War, the eagle, Napoleon I.
Yeah.
English decoration of stoves out of the 1700s.
Yeah.
Some Afghanistan animal, and then the Austrian helmet. There's 300 years of history in one helmet, and by fighting in Afghanistan, this helmet came back to Europe.
That's really cool. I see it sitting on, like, is that a shell casing it's sitting on?
A shell casing transformed into an ashtray.
And I noticed you got a lot of shell casings here. Okay, what are you going to show us first? Where do you want to take us?
Well, I think first war starts with weapons. Huh?
Weapons sounds good to me. All right. Hotchkiss?
Hotchkiss, yeah. This one of the pieces came out of Belgium, out of the Iser River. It's the man who gave it to me, he said it's too shiny for me. Or no, too rusted for me. And for me it's too shiny. As you can see, it's different style than the rest of the museum. You can pick it up. It's almost 26 kilos. It's
Whoa.
quite heavy.
Okay.
It's normally supposed to be on a tripod.
Yeah.
But there's one soldier carrying it.
Yeah.
Bringing it from A to B, but...
That's impressive, and you got a nice
there you got all different
here.
kinds of weapons. You got a lot of Mauser, US, Springfield, Enfield.
Pretty much from all the armies, of course.
We got a lot of different nationalities. Don't forget that the Germans at the end of the war, they took whatever they could get to continue warfare.
Right.
Like Erzatz bayonet, I think they had more than 200 different swords.
Yeah.
The knife part was parts of different nationalities, and the other part fitted on their Mauser.
Okay, this is really cool. Okay, and here's some smaller stuff. Here's some swords and bayonets and
trench daggers.
Oh, trench daggers. Sorry.
Don't forget that bayonets started off being really long.
Yeah.
From the Napoleon period, to pick somebody off his horse. But during the war, they discovered they are way too long for trenches, so they start cutting off bayonets, making them shorter.
Yeah. And I guess you have lots of spades, which we'll see in a little bit, yeah? The shovels.
Yeah, shovels, hundreds of shovels.
Where'd the boat come from?
It's they used in 1914 to get over the Meuse River. The French blew up all the bridges, and the Germans, within a couple of hours, they made a new bridge to get over the river.
This is nice to see some of the armor. We've talked about some of this.
The German body armor.
Yeah.
There you got the Stirnpanzer for the German helmet. You don't find them many because the German soldiers didn't like to wear it. It was way too heavy. So they prefer to hide it and not using it. That's why we don't find them so much.
The whole lobster thing would be nice to see, but that's amazing.
For the rest here, I rebuilt the trenches, the reconstruction of the trench later on we're going to see in the fields.
Okay, we're going to trench.
And later on we're going to see the Hindenburg-line, the Kriemhildestellung.
Okay.
And that's what you're supposed, it was like this, but after the war people took away all the iron to reuse it for the roofs in the village or whatever. So all the iron is gone and you only will see in the woods the trench which is still left over. But it's supposed to be like this was.
Now, in this sort of system that we're about to see, how many men would live in?
Well, that's what I made as an officer dugout.
This is an officer's dugout.
He
You
and his
wanna come?
helper. The officer had himself and a helper. But if you go to the standard soldier, you got 6, 8, 10. If you go to Vauquois, the hill, they had 16 men in a room.
You'd have in a room this size or in a room
No,
bigger?
bigger. A little bit bigger, but not much.
Okay, and this is the officer and his
Yeah.
mate. And there's another one.
And this is standard soldier. I got 4.
Oh yeah, okay.
but
You got
this
4
is
beds here. I want to get a shot in there.
strange to say, but it's still luxurious. And those are the sandbags.
And up on top here is
They had
sandbags, of
a
course.
habit of putting a few stuffs of cement with the sand, so the moment the textile was gone,
Yeah.
it will stay together.
And this is one of the shields that they use for firing through.
Yeah. Which had a few impacts, you can see, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice that everything here is actually used.
It's all used.
It's
Everything which is here really came out from the battlefield. Well, this we still have to do, it's not finished yet.
okay. What's it going to be?
German barrack, the inside of a German barrack,
Oh, all right.
with tables made out of, how do you call the white wood? Birch.
Okay. Yeah, birch. So even after all this time, you're still developing it as you still find more new stuff and find.
I promised to my guests that each year 1/3 of the museum will be changed. Each year.
Wow.
And since 12 years I'm doing that.
That's fantastic.
Well, I'm regretting sometimes I promised that because it's a lot of work during winter time, but no, we're still doing it 12 years long.
Oh, and it's got a restaurant too and stuff too. So when you guys come and visit, you can have some food and stuff as well. And now these are all the wire cutters and things, obviously.
Yeah, all barbed wire. One of the biggest enemies of the soldier had a barbed wire.
It's as you said when we were talking earlier. I mean, at least the guy cutting the wire didn't have to go all the way across no
He
man's
had a little
land,
bit
so-
more chance of surviving.
Little bit.
But don't forget in the First World War, we talked about it earlier, that if you got wounded, infections was one of the worst.
Oh yeah, of course. And this would be incredibly easy to get wounded on. I mean, look at this. It's amazing. I like the way you built it up.
Yeah, look here, the blocks, it's like Lego.
It must have gone really quickly. Very efficient. I mean, look at that. That just looks bad. It
It's
looks
very mean.
bad.
Yeah. A little bit the mess which leaves behind on the battlefield.
Now, when you camera guys get up here, you're going to see something interesting. You're going to see thousands of horseshoes.
Nobody talks about it, but don't forget how many animals lost their lives as well.
Oh yeah,
Horses, cows.
we've talked a bit about it as well. I mean, they get gassed, they get shot, they starve.
They were abused. 16 hours a day was normal to work.
So, if you were on a battlefield here 100 years ago, you'd actually see like this much stuff.
Yeah, what is it? 20, 25 years ago, you still found places in the woods which was shattered with war stuff.
Oh, just
nobody was there since the war stopped.
Just junk everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's places where the soil is still like poisoned and stuff, right? Or where you...
The soil here is still poisoned. Yeah.
Wow.
The rivers are poisoned. You can see it in the fields when the crop will be growing.
Yeah.
You can see the deepest point of the fields.
Yeah.
It will die every year because all the poison will always go to the deepest point.
Okay.
It will never grow.
But what about like the drinking water? Where do you get it
We
from?
have a source coming uphill, so
Yeah.
that's properly clean. But I think if you do some tests in this region,
Yeah.
officially it has too much metals, it has too much of everything. Lead, copper.
Yeah, of course.
The fields are full with it.
Okay, which way do we go now?
You go there on the first floor.
Okay. Oh,
Yes,
wow. I like
nice
some of
well.
the...
Here you can see that explosions almost become art.
Yeah.
And these are pieces of art. This can only be done by an explosion, but the force of it.
Oh, that's really cool.
And the whole first floor is daily life of a soldier, because if you talk about war, everybody's thinking about weapons, warfare, whatever, but I think 10% of their time was fighting. For the rest, they're annoyed, riding a ladder, drinking a beer, playing cards, just normal stuff. And that's the whole first floor, all their daily belongings. When I was 16, I found a complete field hospital. All these bottles, you can still see the morphine, cocaine, iodium, everything is still in there. There was an explosion of a shell next to the hospital. The whole sand fell on the tent, and it was hidden for years.
And you just found the whole thing at once?
Yeah.
It's really amazing that it's all still...
120 dog tags we found next to it.
120?
Dog tag of soldiers who never made it out of that hospital.
Oh.
And that's a nice thing I think about my museum is, a dog tag is worth a lot of money, but we're trying to give it back to the relatives.
Okay.
They're the ones getting it, nobody else. The Griesgrabenfürsorge, it's the German grave organization, one of them, but no, I want them to give them back to the families.
Okay, that's cool. That's nice. And what are all these pictures here?
Those are all pictures of people of the beginning of the war or during the war I think lost many of the soldier pictures. They died.
Yeah.
If you look carefully, you can see it's all costume pictures. Look at this face, has been put in photoshopping.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Most of the head is way too big for the body. It's all photoshopping. They took a picture of another soldier, took his final picture of school,
Yeah.
put that in his soldier uniform to have his last picture.
Oh, poor guys.
This is my great grandfather. He's from Brittany, and the Brittany's, they lost, I think it was from 1.3 million men the French lost, 200,000 were Brittany's. And you can see in his eyes that he survived the war, but he never survived it.
And what's so special about this case?
This is the heart of my museum. When I was 19, I found with my friends 2 soldiers, and the second boy we found was my age, 19. And that changed my whole point of view of this war.
Oh right, you realized that, just being a
could
kid,
be me, I'm going to school, university, maybe get married, children, or whatever. This boy lost his life and was laying in the wood, forgotten.
This is the one you found?
And since then I've been looking for families, trying to find back the relatives, give them back the belongings. And it became the heart of the museum. Yeah. One boy, Paul Rostek, 90 years old, Wilhelm Brinkman, 30 years old. And they were lost, forgotten.
Now, is your museum, is it open every month of the year? I mean,
no, we're open 10 months a year, so we're closed, December, January.
Okay. Just so you know out there, December, January, closed. And this, I guess, would be a field hospital and stuff.
Yeah, a French field hospital, which many times the Americans took over, because at the end of the war, when the Americans come, they don't have money, have many of their own equipment, so they will borrow quite a lot from the French.
Okay.
The arm with the hook.
Yeah?
The hook, so they can always work with a shovel or whatever on the fields.
Oh, so they have some employment afterwards. And
don't forget when there's so many men killed, but I think 4 times as many come back wounded.
Yeah, sure.
With no arm, no leg or whatever, and there's work to be done.
Somebody's got to work.
Somebody's got to work, yeah.
Wow, that's really impressive how it's made.
You know, all techniques already, yeah? By changing the form of the hook, by changing, I don't know, whatever. It was all directions already for those days.
Yeah.
Pretty inventive.
Okay, what are these like little figures, the horses and things?
Those toys are the toys that General Pathé played with when he was a kid. His granddaughter, Helen, borrowed them to the museum for us to expose them, but no, this is where he played with paper, how do you call it, paper mashed?
Paper mache, yeah.
Yeah, paper mache.
Yeah. And what about this shoe and a shoe?
The shoe is an overshoe. That's for the guys who are standing on guard.
Yeah.
You got the humidity and the cold coming up, and he made himself an overshoe to protect himself a few hours longer against the cold.
Anything helps, I guess. And I like that you've got some little trench art here, and that says, it says Romagne on it.
It says Romagne, yeah. That's I love trench art. These are the most standard things you can see, but I love this gas mask filter you see there.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's yeah.
Changed into a coffee filter. You know, it took everything out. Just give it a handle, and now you got a coffee filter. This is where we made a German barrack.
Okay.
And when the Germans installed themselves in France, in our region, you got the Bavarian troops. And the Bavarian troops were well known of using a lot of birch.
Okay.
So they made themselves all nice, comfortable cabins.
And in here,
this year I exposed the American occupation in this region, because they came in 1918, liberated the region, and they stayed for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And as you know, the Americans leave a lot behind after each war. It's cheaper to leave it, destroy it,
than bring it all the way home.
Bring it back home. So that's the reason you find a lot.
Okay, what is this section here?
This is where we rebuilt how the Americans rested. The camp beds, the horse saddles.
Yeah, canteens.
Don't forget that when they came here, there was nothing left over anymore. So they got their own tents, some rooms were used. German bunkers were used as headquarters. Yeah. For the rest, they had to find themselves a shelter. This is all the stuff we found on the place where the Americans after the war re-identified their men. They were all being buried on the battlefield, but after the war they redug them out.
Well, this is the old flag.
Re-identified, and we found, I think, more than 2,000 of their names.
Oh boy, wow.
All these little stripes are their names of the soldiers. And that's what we now try to find back the relatives. And this is post-war, what tourism does after war. You can do field trips, postcards, Sergeant York became from big interest.
Oh yeah, okay.
The Sergeant York Trail.
Yeah. And you give tours out, like if people come here to the museum in the morning, you'll take them out into the fields.
In the mornings we go to the fields, so we take a little bit of the field. For the rest we do the woods, the trenches, the dugouts or whatever.
So you get to see everything? Yeah,
you're going to see a little bit German and the American side of war.
Okay.
And then afterwards the people will see the findings we did in those areas.
Okay, well now you've got a bit of a taste of the fantastic museum, Romagne 1418, and Jean-Paul, he is here most of the time, most of the year, so you guys should all come and check out the rest of it, because there's a lot more that we didn't look at and stuff. Jean-Paul, thank you very, very much for letting us go around. And we're going to also shoot another episode out in the field with Jean-Paul, so you guys will all see that. And do not forget to subscribe, and do not forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, and all your dreams and all Jean-Paul's dreams will come true. See you next time.
Thank you.